Welcome to class number 8. This is part 1 of the success system. In Advocare, we have a foundation. This is one of those things that's not going to change over your journey of Advocare. You kind of wish you would have done this a little bit earlier, don't you? Especially if you're en route to Ruby. But a lot of this class is going to be a lot of my personality, how I introduce people in the success system, what I've done, some of the questions I've asked, some of the mistakes I've made. And so a lot of my personality is going to be coming out during this class. But again, the success system does not change. It's the foundation. It's the bedrock of you pursuing this as a business. And every major business out there has a system in place that makes it duplicatable throughout your journey of Advocare and throughout their journey of their business.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, one of the things that we want you to do to gauge your business and your progress is ask yourself, how many 2-on-1 appointments did I do today, and how many 3-way calls have I done today? And then in the next class, you're going to learn about mixers, but this one we're going to focus on 2-on-1 appointments and 3-way phone calls. Now, up to this point, you've probably personally had some people, some prospects, that you've introduced to your leader, and they've been the third-party credibility for you, and you're sitting very quietly taking notes on a phone call or maybe at a 2-on-1 appointment. But here's where it all is going to switch. For you to get to Ruby, you're the leader now. And we want you to have the confidence to help your distributors. And you know what? You're the one that's going to have to lead that appointment. You're going to be leading the 3-way phone call because you're the leader and you're going to be the third party in this situation. You can't always rely on your leader to be the third party and just kind of claim ignorance. We want to show you that 2-on-1 appointments and 3-way calls are super fun. 3-way calls are personally my favorite thing to do. And as a mom with 3 kids and a lot going on, 3-way calls are awesome for me because I don't have to be dressed and ready and makeup and all that. I can be on my phone and very quickly talk to somebody on the other end. It's an awesome way to build this business, especially for moms that are at home. So let's go to class and teach you how.
Lesson 8. Lesson 8 is entitled The Success System, and it's going to be part 1. The success system is vitally important to your business. What is a success system? Basically what it's designed to do is make a duplicatable system where people join the business, then immediately have a foundational, fundamental plan in place. Let me repeat that. The success system is designed to make a duplicatable system where people join the business, then immediately have a foundational, fundamental plan in place. Basically makes it duplicatable. It makes it very simple. If you're introducing somebody to this business, you have a system in place that they're already... What's some of the parts of the success system? 3-way phone calls. And all the 3-way phone calls, this is Advocare jargon. But if I had Sam and I had Clyde, and I was going to introduce Sam to Advocare, and Sam is one of my good friends. Clyde is my mentor, my leader. Sam and myself and Clyde are going to be talking over the phone together. 3-way phone call or a 3-way conference call. We're going to be on the same phone. I'm going to let Clyde talk to Sam. That's part of the success system. A 2-on-1. That's part of the success system as well. It's where the same as a 3-way phone call, and it's me, Sam, and Clyde sitting down to a local, coffee joint or wherever you're sitting down and you're talking about Advocare there. Mixers, small group meetings, anything like getting around, over 3 people. And a mixer is not like we've been having where there's 100 people showing up. A mixer can be 3, 4, 5, not a lot of people, but that's a small group meeting. A large group meeting was taking place this Saturday. Hundreds of people coming together and having a major function. That's part of the success system. Success school. That's part of it as well. Conference calls. We have conference calls always taking place. The live streaming videos online that are mixers. These are all parts of the success system. All parts for somebody that's brand new, hearing about Advocare for the first time, deciding to do Advocare as a business, and they have tools that they can start implementing immediately to start getting success. That's what the success system is. It's a plan set in place to get people success. Now, the cool thing about the success system, it really dictates how fast or how slow you want to roll in this business. Sometimes we've had people in our business over a 5-year time frame put 5 people in the success system. For 5 years, 5 people. That's 1 person a year being placed in the success system. Needless to say, they may be making $100 a month. But then we have some people, the first week, put 10 to 14 people in the success system, and are making that the first day and make thousands of dollars based upon the bonus structure and what we have to offer. Becoming full-time parents in a 6-month time frame. It's you figure out how fast you want to accelerate based upon how many people that you introduce to Advocare and how many people and how fast you put in the success system. And all businesses, businesses that are successful have a success system. I mean, you look at major hamburger franchises, major ones. You know what I'm talking about. They may not make the best hamburgers in the world, but you know when you go there, you know what you're going to be getting. Whether you're in Portland or whether you're in New York City. You go there and you know exactly what you're going to be receiving. You know why? Because they have a success system. Now, a major burger franchise, part of the success system may not be a fresh salad or couscous. It's not part of their success system, so it's not part of their menu. It doesn't vary from Portland to New York City. And in Advocare, we have a success system in place that's designed to get you success. Because I'm telling you, there's a major hamburger franchises that just make some horrific stuff. But sometimes we know exactly, very predictable what we're going to be receiving when we get there. And also very predictable what's going to be on the menu based upon the franchise, based upon the system they have in place. And in Advocare, we have the exact same thing. That's why somebody can go to a meeting in Austin or go to a meeting in Portland, and the success system throughout the country does not change. All right? One part of the success system I'm going to be talking about. Before I do that, let me talk about third-party credibility. Because that's what the success system is about, is the third-party credibility. Most of us don't really realize why we're doing third-party credibility. The day you realize why you're doing third-party credibility is the day you're going to start doing it more often. Third-party credibility, when I was brand new, I thought it was about putting my mentor on the phone, my leader on the phone, and having him close people for me. Your third-party credibility has nothing to do with closing business. It doesn't have anything to do with closing business. Let me give you an example as far as third-party, and it's a human nature thing. It's a mindset thing. I remember it was, and it happens in marriage all the time with Jenny. In 2000, there was a new restaurant that came into town here in Vancouver, and Jenny was, for weeks, was telling me, "Hey, Bob, we have got to go. We've got to go to this restaurant. I heard it's great. We've got to go to it, and it's your wife." I mean, I love Jenny. I should be able to listen to Jenny. She wants to go to the restaurant, and she was telling me this for weeks. And then Jenny left town. She went off to a meeting. And then my father-in-law called me up, my stepfather-in-law, and he goes, "Hey, Bob, I heard of a great restaurant. Do you want to go to it?" I was like, "Well, sure, I'll go to it." And I immediately got in the car and went to this restaurant, the same restaurant that my wife has been telling me for weeks. Why did I listen to my stepfather-in-law versus my wife? Why do some people listen to your mentor, your leader, more than they listen to you? It's the third-party credibility. And it happens it's human nature. And here's a key. Everybody hears things through filters. And here's the thing. When we're introducing people to Advocare, there's a filter system in place when you're communicating Advocare. And what the filter is based upon is things you've done in the past, experiences you've had with them in the past, things that you've shared in the past, businesses you've tried and failed, jobs you've had and got fired from, jobs you've had and you've been successful from. I mean, that's what, when you're sharing Advocare with somebody, what they're hearing is not really about Advocare. They're hearing through a filter system that's based upon your relationship before Advocare comes in place. So it very seldom has to do with Advocare when you're doing the first conversation, getting people in the success system. Third-party credibility, though, if I'm talking to Sam and Sam doesn't know me, the only filter system that Sam has with me is that he thinks that I'm the pitch man, I'm going to be closing Sam. That's what he's thinking. So why third-party credibility is so successful in Advocare is because when I start talking to Sam, and I'm not closing him, I'm not convincing him, I'm not pitching him, It totally goes against what their filter is or what they thought third-party credibility is. So when I'm talking to Sam, he's not filtering through the eyes of what the relationship is. He's filtering through what he thought he was going to experience. What he's experiencing is far greater than what he thought. And if it's far greater than what he thought, they're listening to it a lot more intently. And so you can be talking to your family, people who love you. But their filter is based upon the past. But when they talk to me, they're exposing everything about their life. There's so many third-party credibility situations when I'm talking to a family friend. Say Sam introduces me to family member Clyde, and Sam's introduced me to Clyde, and Clyde starts sharing with me some of his heart and that he's constipated and all these different... But I'm just telling you, it comes out. And the reason why is because it didn't really happen. But if Clyde was talking to Sam, it's just not casual conversation stuff. I mean, it's not going to be those things that we talk about. But in third-party credibility situation, it's that filter system allows us to come into a situation. That's where when people see it and they start hearing about Advocare and they see something different, unique, that filter system is off. That's why third-party credibility works in Advocare. So what I'm going to discuss, the first part of the success system, and this is, Jen and I, we'd love to do these because you can, the first one is three-way phone calls. That's Advocare terminology. You never want to introduce your family or friend and say, hey, would you like to do a three-way phone call with me and my mentor? You know, they think something else is happening. So just don't use Advocare terminology. This is just Advocare terminology for you to keep on track of really what the success system is. A three-way phone call, and we love to do that because we can be anywhere, and we can be in the car, we could be on vacation, we could be doing anything, we could be on a three-way phone call. Also, a two-on-one setting is exactly like a three-way phone call, except it's in person. I love two-on-ones. The reason why, because I love making eye contact. Sometimes with a phone, there's no, personable connection when I'm talking to somebody over the phone. So I love doing two-on-one, meetings, appointments. Three people are involved in this part of the success system. First of all, the distributor, or the introducer. Who's introducing the second person was considered the prospect. And the third person involved is the leader. This is what makes up the three elements of what a three-way phone call is. Pretty self-explanatory, but I'm just being honest with you. If you're doing a three-way phone call, what I encourage everybody to do is get on freeconferencecalling.com first and foremost before you start setting up three-way phone calls, because it just makes things so much simpler. And freeconferencecalling.com, what that does is it allows you to get on a conference call number, because what we found in three-way phone calls, like if I'm calling Sam and trying to get him on the phone, and I'm trying to get Clyde, my mentor, on the phone with Sam, and Clyde's phone happens to be on silent or vibrating, he's not hearing the phone call go off, and there's so many times, I don't know how many times I've done these phone calls where we've been missing out, just miscommunicating, or one phone's gets out of service for just a split second, like here in the Northwest, you can go by a mountain, all of a sudden it's out of service, and you miss the phone calls. And with conference calling, it just makes things so much simpler, where all three people dial into a conference call number, and it's a phone number you all dial into, and you all get linked up on this conference call number. It just makes these phone calls so much simpler. What's cool about this, a three-way phone call where it can be a conversation like this can quickly turn into a conference call where you have multiple people on there. It makes it very personable, and you're on one phone line, and it's all free to the person. But it makes things very easy as far as when you're setting it up. So just know, if you're setting up three-way phone calls, get on freeconferencecalling.com or whatever service. There's a ton of services out there that give you free conference calling capabilities. During the communication, I want to first, because I'm going to communicate this on both sides. I want to communicate on the distributor side, some of the steps as a distributor, but also I want to communicate on the leader side. If you're the one actually doing the three-way phone call, if you're actually the third-party credibility, because a lot of us can be the distributor side, because really the first step is the most difficult step, but once you get past the first step, it's very, very simple. But so many of us are afraid to get in that leader because we really don't know what to say. So I'm going to teach you some things that if you're a leader, And the reality is, if you've been in Advocare for 7 days, you know more about Advocare than the person that's hearing about it for the first time. Has anybody heard the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king? If you've been in Advocare for 7 days, you're the one-eyed man, the prospect is the blind person. You know more about Advocare than they do. So when you're introducing them, I want to talk in both aspects. First, I want to communicate if you're the distributor. 3 steps. After the one-on-one, set up the 3-way phone call, obviously. One thing, when you're setting up the 3-way phone call, what I encourage people to do is, if the distributor's setting it up, find out, get 3 separate times over the next 24 hours or 48 hours that this prospect is going to be available. Get 3 separate times. And even, no matter how busy the individual is, if you give them 3 separate times, statistically, I'm available one of those 3 times. I mean, even myself, when we got things going on, I'm going to be available. So find out from the prospect, say, okay, over the next 48 hours, give me 3 separate times you're going to be available that I can introduce you to my mentor or my leader or my friend. And another thing about word choices, alleviate all, when you're about ready to make the introduction, say, I want to introduce you to, like say if Sam's going to introduce me to somebody. Sam goes, hey, I want to introduce you to my platinum distributor, Hall of Fame member, $90,000 a month income earner, that I got to have you talk to my mentor, Bob Donnelly. And he's not my sponsor, and he just starts throwing out all this stuff. Now, some of the things you want to be sharing, but you don't need to, some things you don't need to share. Nobody cares. Nobody knows what platinum is. Nobody knows what emerald is. Nobody knows what diamond is. That's Advocare lingo. You can remove that. When you're introducing your prospect to your leader, you don't have to using that terms. I can be your friend, even if I've only known you for 2 days. I'm your friend. I'm Bob. So when you start making the introductions, don't use any goofy stuff. We're not goofy, so you don't have to use it. So I'm just your friend, Bob, when you're making the introduction. Now that's on the front end when you say, I want to introduce my friend Bob. And going back to what we said on lesson 7, do you trust me? This first step, if you can get past the first step, everything else is easy. But if getting past this first step, actually getting them on the phone, getting them in the success system, this is where questions are going to come up. And inherently, anytime you get a question, ask a question back. Say, if I was talking to Sam and said, do you trust me? I said, do you trust me on the front end? Say, if you trust me, we talked about this, but if you trust me, I want to introduce you to my friend Bob. I'm nothing, anything other than your friend. And the reason why I want to introduce my friend Bob is I'd be doing you a grave injustice if I didn't do so. It'd be like me telling you about the ins and outs of Mac when it was ground floor, and we could have bought a bunch of stock in Mac and made millions of dollars, and try to explain to you about what Mac is before it actually, or what Apple is before it actually happens. I'd be doing you injustice, wouldn't I? And say, well, I don't want to talk. And how many times have we heard, I don't want to talk to your friend Bob? We all get that. Because nobody wants to talk to a stranger. But I haven't met anybody that ends up talking to me that says, oh my goodness, why did you introduce me to that guy Bob? And the reason why, because we're different. So when Sam says, no, wait, remember we went back. I know he said, I know you don't want to talk to me. I mean, if I were in your shoes, to be honest with you, and this is just, I'm talking about making a connection. That's why it's so important to ask questions. That's why it's so important to develop an emotional connection. That's why it's so important to actually connect with the individual versus just giving him a bunch of information. Say, Sam, I'm telling you, not only you trust me, but if I were in your shoes, I would feel the exact same way. Wouldn't you? So you could say that. Say, if I were in your shoes, I'd feel the exact same way. But the purpose behind that is it's not about me. This is about you and really what you can accomplish in Advocare. So it has nothing to do with me. It has something to do with me because I actually can learn. Because I don't really know what I'm doing either. Because I'm talking to my friend Bob and he'll tell me what to do. But I can kind of relay everything to you. But I want you to talk to friend Bob because he's the one that knows stuff about Advocare. He's been doing this for 11 and a half years. And if they say, well, I don't want to talk to a sales guy, that's not what this is about. And so many of us, we bow down to that first objection. We hear, I don't want to talk to your friend Bob. And immediately we say, okay. I mean, I did that. None of my family wanted to talk to Danny. I don't want to talk to your friend Bob. Well, okay. Well, so what are you watching? What movies have you been going to lately? And you drop it then and there. Ask him a question back. Now, tell me this, why not? I mean, just be honest with you. Why wouldn't you want to talk to him? Ask him the question back. Don't fall into it. And the day I realized this was actually, Jenny and I, when we first got started in this business, I was not doing any three-way phone calls with Danny. Nothing. I wasn't doing any of them. And Jenny and I signed up some of our family because Jenny told me to. And so, I say that because that's not because of Jenny. That was because that's the only person that I could really influence to get signed up because I wasn't doing any third-party credibility. It was me. That was a bunch of one-on-ones. It wasn't part of the success system. Jenny was during the day with Danny. So Jenny did a lot of those things. But Danny called me up one Sunday, and I was just talking to him. And sometimes when you say something to your leader that you wish you could have retracted, like expose something, and Danny, I was talking to him about a couple we went to church with and we went out to lunch with, and we were talking to him, and he goes, okay, Bob, here's the deal. Within the next 10 minutes, I want you to introduce me to him, and hung up. I was like, And he literally did that. And so, and all of a sudden, at that moment, sweat. So, I mean, it started coming down. I'm like, I've never done that. I'm so nervous, And how many people on the first phone call, you're just nervous? And you really don't need to be, but you are because it's something new. And something new, you get scared a little bit. So, I started sweating, and Jenny's like, you got to get him I'm not going to give him the phone. I'm going to tell Danny I couldn't get a hold of him. That's what I'm going to do. Just make up a lie. So, and Jenny goes, and Jenny was firm with me. She goes, no, you're not going to do that. You're going to call him right now. I said, no, I don't want to call him right now. I said, but Danny said, I got 10 minutes. So I ended up calling him. And when you have your leader say that to you and hold you accountable like that, that person, no matter what he tells me, I'm getting him on the phone with Danny. Period. And when we have that mentality, we have the mentality of putting people in the success system, and nothing's going to stop us in order to get them in the success system. No matter what question they're going to ask you, you're going to be able to get them you're going to be able to get them on the phone. And I don't remember what he told me as far as what objection to say. All I know is that, hey, you got to talk to my friend Danny. I got him on the phone with Danny. Everything was groovy. And what was beautiful about it is it actually worked. And when you do your first one and it works, what do you want to do more of? What if they're so insistently saying no? I really want to make a side note that there's some people you just can't. You're not going to make up their mind. They're going to be watching you. They're going to say no. And 6 months down the road, I remember I call him my second father because he was my athletic director in high school. He was my basketball coach in ninth grade. I mean, we went fishing together. He taught me a lot. Anyways, I just call him a second father, and I called him because I wanted to put him in the success system, and there was a big meeting taking place in the hometown that he lived in, and I called him up and told him about this meeting, and you've got it because he's an ex-coach, and I was promoting this guy coming into my hometown so I can get my second dad in this meeting. I was so stoked about it because I thought it would make some type of a connection, and I wish I would have saved the voicemail I got back. I mean, it was awesome. He goes, you could talk to me all you want about your wood products, but you're not going to mention one more thing about it. And just started, just getting into it. I'm like, ooh, I guess that's a no. And the great thing about it is, 9 months down the road, you know what he did? He called me up. He said, you still doing that thing? And I said, yes. He goes, if you've been doing it for this long, it must be something good. Got on products, and it's been, so it just, people are watching, even if they say no. And if we don't stick with it, if we don't stick with Advocare, guess who they're in a year down the road when they want to start taking products? Who are they going to be calling? And you're not around. Bob and Jenny, thank you very much. Move side, I got one of your guys. Thank you. If you get an immediate no, the last ditch effort, and this is my word choices, and hopefully I help you out. But if I get a no, I don't want to talk. I said no, I don't want to talk. I said, brother, I'm not going to force you, and I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget. Oh, I'm not going to force you. But just tell me, I mean, really, let's get down to the root of why you're saying no. Just tell me, be honest with me. And sometimes that uproots some belief systems of what makes the individual really say no so adamantly. Because it may be about nothing about Advocare. And the reality, guys, if you get a no from putting people in the success system, it very seldom has to do with you, and it very seldom has to do with Advocare. It has to do with that person and what they're filtering through their mindset based upon their beliefs, based upon how they were raised, based upon who they're around, based upon past experiences, and possibly who you are as far as some of the past experiences you've had with them as well. Make sense? So sometimes you're just going to get those no's. Some keys. Word choices are keys. We talked about that. Now, it's about introducing it to your friend. Be particular in your word choices. It's not, hey, would you like to talk to my mentor, Bob? Would you like to talk to my friend, Bob? The immediate answer is no. The only people I said would like to talk to are the outgoing, the minority of the extroverts that are out there in the world that just love talking to anybody. If it's a hole in the wall, they'll talk to them. So those aren't very many people. Like, would you like... No, I don't want to talk to your friend. Don't say, would you like to? No, this is what we need to do next. Word choices are very important. That's a key. Second key, reiterating, if they say no, ask why. Third key, busyness is never an obstacle for your mentor. I've heard that way too often. My leader's too busy. I really think that's a little bit of a cop-out. I'm sorry, I've never met a leader that's too busy. If somebody gets, how many people here that have been doing 3 phone calls, if you give me 3 times, how many times have I not been available one of those 3 times? Good. Way to lie, guys. Well done. I'm just, there's not been one time that these guys have done and say, gave me 3 times that I've not been available. They say, they gave me 48 hours, they gave me 3 times, they're going to be available. All right? You're not too busy. Now, they may not get a text back in 30 minutes, but maybe in an hour. Okay, the first step, you're setting it up. Second step, if you're a distributor, you have to properly introduce your mentor or your leader to your prospect. Properly introduce. The bottom line with this is we've got to get everybody on the same page. So I'm just going to give you a scenario. Say Sam is introducing Clyde, and Clyde is the leader. Sam is the distributor, and I'm the distributor. Sam's a prospect. Clyde's the leader. I said, Sam, I told you a little bit about Clyde. This is just an introduction. Another thing on conference calls, don't say, hey, Clyde, this is Sam. Sam is Clyde, and leave any silence. Don't leave any silence. And the reality, because most of the time Clyde will say, hey, Sam, what's up? And then the conversation gets started. Then you can't get back. You just can't get back the introduction. You're like, wait, I was supposed to do a proper introduction. And you've already started. No, don't leave any silence to say, okay, Sam, this is my buddy Clyde. And Clyde's been doing this business for a year now, and he's impacted a lot of people. He's gotten great product results over the last year. It feels great, and he's going to share a story a little bit later. But the important thing about Clyde is, he's been doing this business as well, and he knows a lot about Advocare. He knows the ins and outs as far as really what Advocare is, and he's impacted a lot of people's lives. Here's the important thing, Sam. The reason why I'm introducing you to Clyde is Clyde cares about one thing, and that's people and helping people out and really, getting the results they're looking for, the same results that we were talking about before, we got on this phone call. And Clyde, this is my friend Sam, and Sam has tried a Spark before, and he felt the Spark. He absolutely loved the Spark, and he saw the Impact magazine and saw a little bit about endorsers. I showed him, honestly, Clyde, I showed him a little bit too much. So I'm thankful we actually still got on the phone because I showed him a lot about Advocare. But, and he's also saw a little bit of your story online. He's just, I just want to introduce each other. So, Clyde, take it away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just put my phone on mute, and Clyde, talk away to Sam, and then Clyde gets it started. Now, I made all that stuff up. I'm not a very good role player. I don't know. If it was real, there's no reason why we can't do something like that. There's no reason why we can't make the introduction like that. And the first time, guess what? Is it going to be that good? No. Be fine with that. But just don't do the, Sam, this is Clyde, Clyde, this is Sam, Clyde, sick 'em. You know, because it happens all the time. And I'm just being honest with you, because I really want to help you. I really want to help you set up the success system, because I'm telling you, if you want to get tremendous results, if you want to get tremendous results in the success system, if you want it to work effectively, the introduction, getting on the same page, I'm telling you, the results. There's some people that I love doing the three-way phone calls because I know it's going to be set up properly. And there's some people I don't like doing three-way phone calls because I know it's not going to be set up properly. I'm not talking to anybody here because you guys know what's up. Okay? But also I've had times where I've said, okay, Sam, this is my buddy Clyde. And, Clyde, this is Sam. And Sam, I just want to introduce you to my buddy Clyde. So... And then Clyde, when he starts as a leader, he doesn't know what's up. He doesn't know what Sam's taken. He doesn't know what products he's taken. He doesn't know what he's seen. He doesn't know if he's seen the impact. He doesn't know if he works on the streets or has a home or he doesn't know anything about Sam. Nobody's on the same page. That's the purpose of the second step. And it's so important. And guess where it lies? At the introducer's lap. Set it up the right way. I promise you it'll get you better results. Third thing, and we already talked about, the third step is being quiet. Now, let me reiterate that, because it is so difficult. But I'm telling you, for me, it was so easy. And the reason why? Because I didn't have to do any work. But sometimes when I'm introducing Clyde to Sam, here's what happens. Clyde, this is Sam, I do the same introduction junk. And Clyde starts talking, and Sam's like, and all of a sudden you hear Sam, just his voice inflection, everything starts changing, and Sam starts getting excited. And Clyde says something that has to deal with the conversation, or is about the conversation, and all of a sudden something clicks into my mind that is so important that my mouth is like a volcano, and I just want to erupt it onto this conversation. And this, I'm saying, Clyde, hold on, not to interrupt you, but I'm telling you, what you just said is so awesome, because here's why it's so awesome. When I first heard about Advocare, and you know what Bobby's doing at that time? Hanging up. And the reason why is because it throws the conversation off. And there's times when people are interrupting, like something goes off in their brain, they think it's important, or they just want to interrupt. Here's the deal. Modern day technology. You know what's happening in phones these days? Mute buttons. It's a phenomenon. I don't know what the deal is, but all phones have mute buttons. If we're in a 2-on-1, in other words, in person, there's no such thing as a mute button. It's very, and especially when you start seeing eyeballs and people are getting excited, like you're seeing eyes, and you're seeing and I'm introducing Clyde to Sam, and I'm the introducer, and all of a sudden Sam starts setting up a little bit more and starts getting serious about what Clyde's talking about, and you start foaming out of the mouth. You're ready, because you're going to get some business results. As soon as you start getting excited, your foot starts tapping, and then all of a sudden, boom, you just unload it. And you know what you hurt? I mean, then all of a sudden, and what it does, it makes Advocare convincing versus just a conversation. As a leader, I'm going somewhere. And if you derail me, my train is way off track. I'm done. And so just mute the phone. Zip it. One of my daughter's books, my Hannah, one of her books is My Mouth is a Volcano. Just because, kids want to say things and get it out. But when me and Jenny are talking, and we're talking about family stuff, and then one of the kids it's a great book to read. I encourage everybody here to go to the bookstore and buy that for your next educational book. My Mouth is a Volcano. Okay. Y'all love me, right? Okay, mute the phone. Okay, now the second side is if you are the leader. Because every one of you are going to be in a place where you feel you're not equipped to be the leader. But what I want to do is I want to equip you right now that you can do this. Any one of you can get on the phone and start making it happen. And some of you are getting on the phone and trying to make it happen, but you're doing some of the wrong steps. So I want to teach you some of the right steps to make it happen. Is this, when you're, like if Clyde is, let me see if I make this scenario right. Clyde is the leader, or Clyde is the prospect. Sam is, I introduced Sam to Advocare a week ago, and I only got in 2 weeks ago. So I'm 2 weeks in the business, Sam is 1 week in the business, and Sam introduces Clyde to Advocare, and his mentor Bob is golfing. So you can't get a hold of Bob. So what are you going to do? So you call me and say, I can't do that. I mean, I don't know what's going on. Hey, text Bob, and Bob will be available the next couple of days, and you just kind of hand it off. You just pitch off the ball, your tailback, and let him run it through the hole, versus you taking it and running with it. The problem is that we're not feeling equipped. But again, the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Clyde knows nothing about Advocare. So the beautiful thing is that you being in Advocare for 2 weeks, you know a lot more than Clyde. And if you follow these steps correctly, you're going to make it happen. So you as a leader, first thing, if you recruit somebody and you talk to them about this business and you paint the vision for their future, be available for them. Last thing you want to do is hand it off to your leader and then not be available for the person that you're introducing to Advocare. Be available for them. And Jenny and I, we take it's a commitment to us when we enroll people into Advocare that we are there for them. And same thing goes here, even if you've been in Advocare for 3 months. Be there for the people you introduce to Advocare. Be available for them. Three foundational steps when you're conducting it as a leader. First step is connect. Now when you connect, ask questions. Going back to what we've already we talked about in 2 different lessons previously. You're asking a lot of questions. Like how I start most conversations. Tell me, Clyde, how do you know Sam? That's an easy, as a leader, can you do that? Even if you've been in Advocare for 2 weeks, you say, well, tell me, Clyde, how do you know Sam? And the great thing about conversations, you never know where that one question is going to go. So when I'm talking about some of these questions that I ask, you don't bullet point the questions, but when you're connecting, you're actually connecting the individual and where the relationship is. You can say, oh, Clyde, I know you told me that you two work together. How long have you worked together? Again, I'm just trying to make a connection. I'm not immediately going into Advocare. Even if it's set up properly where Sam, hey, and Sam, I've been in 2 weeks, Sam's been in 1 week, Clyde is the prospect. Sam goes, hey, before we share the story, your little story the last couple weeks with Clyde, and even if somebody says that, I still do not neglect that first step. I still connect with them, finding out who they are. How do you know each other? And then asking questions like, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. And what do you like to do outside of work? And do you have any? And just start getting the conversation flowing, finding out really, who they are. Going back to form, family, occupation, recreation. Going back to some of that stuff, asking a lot of questions, connecting with them. The second step is story. Now the key thing as a leader, can everybody connect? Everybody knows how to ask questions, right? Does everybody know how to conduct a conversation? You ask a question, and whatever answer you get back from that question, you're not thinking about your story right now. Don't think about it, because you're following the first step, right? You're connecting, so you're not thinking about your story right now. So when that first question comes back and you get a response, you ask another question based upon that answer. That's called conversation. Pretty cool, huh? So like I asked Clyde what he does for a living, or Clyde, because he's a prospect, I say, Clyde, what do you do for a living? And how do you know Sam? And I'll say, really, you know Sam for that? Are you from here? Clyde? And I just kind of, that's what a conversation is. Isn't that great? Where you actually kind of diving into really what they are. And as a leader, we can do that. Don't be nervous about what's going to come out of your mouth about Advocare. I could talk about diapers for 45 minutes, Advocare for 5 minutes, and they'll be recruited into Advocare. And the reason why, because you're on their agenda as the leader. Going back to when you were on the one-on-one, you're on their agenda, guys. So that first thing when you're connecting, before you start sharing your story, connect with them, getting into a conversation with them, making it happen. The second thing, as far as getting in your story, you really have to master a transitional statement going from connecting to your story. And transitional statements are kind of weird. I mean, we all have our own transitional statements. Like my transitional statements, and Clyde knows this just based upon the phone calls we've done together. I mean, my transitional statement, this is what I say, is that, hey, to be honest with you, Clyde, when you and I get on the phone and me asking a lot of questions about your life, I'm going to be honest with you, I have no agenda. I don't have a certain, sales pitch and package for you. I don't have anything that I'm really going to unload on you in regards to Advocare. But, I know Sam, when he first made that introduction, I want to share my story. And the great thing about the story, everything what I heard in the connection, I'm going to form my story around that connection, even if I've been around Advocare for 2 weeks. So many of us, if I'm connected with an individual, some of us want to share debt freedom, and that's a good thing. But there's some people that don't have any debt. And if you're asking enough questions, you may be able to find that out. If I'm talking to a 21-year-old young man, I'm not talking about being a stay-at-home dad. They don't care. So my story is going to emphasize my college experience and my car that I had after graduating from college and renting an apartment. I just wanted more. I mean, I was a young guy. I really didn't know what I was doing for my life. But and everything in my story is going to package around. But that's the point of me saying my transitional statement. Say, hey, just let you know, I mean, I want to talk to you for a long time about you, but I don't have an agenda. That's my transitional statement. When I have, let me go back to one transitional statement that a lot of people use as well, and this is one that Jenny uses, and it's a very simple, this is probably the simplest transitional statement. So, Clyde, I mean, tell me what has Sam told you about Advocare thus far? And then getting Clyde talking about, Advocare. Say, well, let's do this. Before I start talking about Advocare, let me just share you my experience and really why I'm talking to you and what I've done with Advocare, and you start sharing your story. The key as a leader, guys, the reason why we're having you come up here and sharing your story, honestly, when you share your story as a leader, it's going to be a lot easier than when you're up here. I promise you. What's great about it is that you're getting extremely challenged being up here, so then when you get on the phone, it makes it a lot easier for you. So when you're on the phone and you start sharing your story or in a two-on-one experience, guess what you're not doing? Do not talk for 10 minutes about your story. Really fast. You don't need to share a 10-minute, 15-minute version. I shouldn't say you don't have to. Don't share your 10-minute story. I've been in Advocare for 11 and a half years. You know how many things I can talk about after 11 and a half years of experience? I can talk about a lot of junk that's happened over the last 11 and a half years. My story can be 45 minutes long. Or it could be a month long. I mean, I could make it a 12-week course and about my story and things that have happened. So when you're sharing a story, base everything what you've heard here, base your story around it. Now, honestly, as a leader, if I've been in Advocare for 2 weeks, it's hard to do. I mean, it's very difficult. I understand that. I mean, if I was doing this initially, I was just to share my normal story, say, hey, in the first 2 months on products, I lost 25 pounds, and I'm be honest with you, I wasn't interested in the business, and so you and I talking about the business, I haven't been doing this for very long, to be honest with you, but this is what I've seen over the last 2 months, doing Advocare. So you can frame your story just about what you've experienced thus far, and being honest with people. Don't again, not necessarily thinking about the X's and O's of what you're not all the information about Advocare. Do you know how many times if I'm the leader and I'm sharing my story, or I'm talking about Advocare, do you know how many times I've mentioned the Medical Incentive Advisory Board? Very little to none. Do you know how many times I've mentioned about endorsers? Very little. The only time I mention that is when I need to utilize the Bulletproof Shield, things that we've already talked about. But I very seldom talk about Advocare. I talk about all emotional things with the stories. It's all about the emotion. Third thing, you have to ask. So you connect, share your story, now ask. These are the 3 steps. Every one of us can do these 3 steps. When you ask, so from what I said, from my story and what you heard about Advocare, what can I do for you from here? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking about with Advocare? And then zip it. we get through the story and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. And I've done this, and I've done it recently where I've said, okay, I'm going to hand you back to Clyde, and we'll talk to you soon, okay, buddy? And just kind of hand it off versus asking, well, tell me, what would you like to do? Going back to kind of connecting, finding out really what their thoughts are, what they're looking to accomplish. I've been guilty of that. Just when I'm in a hurry, I leave that step out. Do not leave that step out. Because this is what I realize as I'm getting this curriculum down. This is where the major duplication can happen in your business. This is the power of when you ask this question, this is when you can start turning points into dozens of points. This is when you can turn your organization to 4 people to 20 people quickly, is when you ask this question. 3 things that the potential is after you ask that question, 3 things that are going to happen. There are 3 routes. After you ask them, the first route they're going to get on product. They just say, you know what, I'm just interested in product right now. I just want to get on that 24-day challenge. Okay, great. Here's what I want you to do. Just get on the computer. Clyde will help you through that and guide you through the computer and get you some product. I encourage you, and this is where I talk about getting a wholesale discount. I encourage you to get a wholesale discount. The reason why, because you're going to save money on your products. Advocare doesn't entitle you. You don't have to order a certain amount of product each month. Kind of guide them through that process as a leader a little bit as far as signing up as a wholesale discount. But the products are great. And the great thing about the products, that's a win. When we're talking to someone about the business, we don't want the automatic yes. Getting them through the process of getting them on products. Guess what? Like we said in the past, a happy product user is a happy distributor. They'll always fall back on the product results. Getting on products is great. One of the options is doing nothing. Be happy about that. If they don't do anything, that's no big deal. Because the great thing about Advocare is we're not pitching a gimmick. When people look into it and they watch you losing weight, they watch you feeling better, they watch you starting to make money, guess what they're going to go back to? You. Because you put them in the success system. So many times they may not come back to you because they weren't in the success system. They were just a random sample out in the world. So they don't do anything. They're going to watch you anyways. And that's great. Because they got the whole... And you know what? You do not need everybody to join your business. I took... like our first year in this business, Danny came into town. He goes, will you take me where you get your haircut? I said, well, sure, I'll take you where I get my haircut. Because he goes, I need a haircut. I've been out of town a lot and haven't got my haircut. Well, takes me in to get his haircut, and it's the same girl that cuts my hair all the time, and he's there and starts talking to her and asking her questions, and we're leaving the hairstylist, and he goes, so is she on product? And I said, no, and I start trying to explain myself, and just like, because when you're mentor, when you're leaders, he just got his haircut by the person, and she needs to lose weight, and I started trying to explain myself. He goes, hey, Bob, you can't win them all. And I was like, man, that's freeing to know. I can't win them all. You can't win everybody to Advocare. There are some people that need to have a job. And the reason why, because we need that world working. There's some people that they just want to be happy product users down the road. They may a year down the road, they're going to be on products. That's great. Love them no matter what. Be happy with the nothings. Because at least you gave them a shot. At least you gave them a shot to be a part of Advocare. The third potential, somebody wants to do Advocare as an income opportunity, do this as a business. And when we started doing 3-way phone calls and 2-on-1s with other people, and somebody actually said yes, I mean, I'm telling you, the win, the feeling you get from, man, this person said yes. I am pretty good, aren't I? It's amazing how awesome that victory is when you have somebody say yes. And what I noticed, every time I got a yes, it was most of the times where I said, I mean, what did I say? I talked about diapers for 30 minutes and talked about child care and kid issues and all these different things. And I didn't talk at all about Advocare, but they said yes to the income opportunity. I mean, I was floored. You're going to get those opportunities where you have no idea what you're talking about, and all of a sudden somebody's going to say, I like to do this business. Here's an optimal solution is. If you're the leader, the tendency is to give each other a high five. Like, Sam introduced me to Clyde. Clyde's talking to me, the prospect, and Clyde says, well, I'd like to do this as a business. And I say, okay, sweet. Sam's going to hook you up, and we'll talk to you soon. We have a success system already in place where we're going to get your results. And just hand it off back to Sam. Clyde gets signed up with Sam, and Sam and I get back on the phone, and we give each other a phone high five. We're like, well, I mean, we're just getting all stoked for each other. We got a new sign up and all the different, and we really forgot the most important part. The most important part, if you want to start blowing up this business, focus in here, guys, okay? If you want to start building this business and start building some depth in your organization, when I do that with Clyde, and Clyde says yes to the business, say, Clyde, the thing that we just did right now, what I want you to think about is I want you to think about three different people that are in your position that you think that you could just top, the people that are in the top of your mind. That as we're talking, I guarantee you, when we're talking about these products, when we're talking about this business, I guarantee you started thinking about some people in your mind. And what I encourage you to do, and this is how this business works. The very phone. Did you enjoy this phone call? Was this all right to you? And what I want to do is I want to get on the phone with those three people, and we just want to introduce them. Whenever the next couple of days, we can talk to those three people. And it's amazing how we don't do that. We skip it. We high five each other, and then we go out there and start selling products, Clyde. But if we do that, those three people, and say it gets one person on the phone, man, I'm telling you, it's amazing as far as what this business is going to do. And that's what Jenny and I did the first 3 months to build it to Ruby. In the first 3 months, because we did that exact thing. We didn't know what level, we didn't know what we were doing, we didn't know how income streams worked. We had no idea how we got compensated. We didn't have any internet where we couldn't see the numbers, we couldn't see our downline, we couldn't see anything. We were just talking to people. If they can fog up a mirror, we were talking to them about Advocare. And if Clyde introduced me to somebody, I talked to that person. Say, Clyde introduced me to Sam. I was talking to Sam more than I was talking to Clyde. And Sam introduced me to a gal named Jenny. I was talking to Jenny as much as I was talking to Sam. And that's what we did the first 3 months. I was doing an insecure form. Jenny was doing a strength form. Where I was doing it just not knowing what I was doing. I was totally insecure about Advocare, but I was willing to at least do it and work through that insecurity. If we start doing the success system, guys, if we start implementing, you can do these three-way phone calls and two-on-ones. Everything I talked about was with about a three-way phone call. The exact same things happens on a two-on-one. And when you introduce them, again, don't use that Advocare jargon. This is success system jargon, so you know exactly what part of the success system we're working here. And I know some of you are in the phase right now as a distributor introducing prospects to your leader, but I know each one of you can be that leader, be the one that's being the third-party credibility and getting results for your business. Y'all down with that?